Hey guys, my name is Jordan Jarvis. I'm a 24-year-old classic physique competitor, and this is my very first YouTube video. This is part one of three of a video that I've been wanting to make, or I'm gonna probably break it down into three videos on how I was able to peak for 3 shows across 1 month. For those of you who don't know, I competed in 3 different shows this year. The first of which being the FitLog Classic on May 18th, 2024. Where I took the overall classic physique title. The second show I did was called the Mimi Capes Classic, and it was a week later. And I also took the overall classic physique title there, both of which they were both regional shows. And then the third show I did was 2 weeks after that one, and it was the Toronto Pro Qualifier. And unfortunately, I only got 5th out of 10 for that. But I already know I'm gonna bounce back and be better than ever next year. So it was my first shot at nationals, and we got some good data, good feedback, and we're gonna come back next year better than ever. So I'm kind of excited to show you guys. I love bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding more than anything, and to be able to share my passion with you guys, honestly, it makes me feel really good. So hopefully you guys get some value out of it. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and yeah, let's get into it. To give you guys some quick background, actually, I wasn't supposed to do this show. The promoter of the show messaged me when I was about 3 weeks out of the Montreal show, which is going to be in part 2, asked me if I wanted to do it. And at first I was kind of hesitant, but then I figured it wasn't going to be that much more. I had the money. It wasn't going to be that much more expensive. And my coach was actually able to drive us there and back. So it saved on the cost of transportation. And I figured, you know what, it's good experience, good stage experience. You know, it's not every day that you get to step in on a stage in front of hundreds of people. So I kind of took it as you know, extra experience for me, and it ended up going my way. So also, just to give you guys a quick heads up, like I kind of made a bunch of abbreviations here so that everything would fit. So and I put what the meanings are up here. So you have SP for skin prep, you got C for cardio, W for workout, M and E for moisturize and exfoliate, and then D for diet. So let's get into it. So starting at 2 weeks out, I started to, in terms of skin prep, I started to moisturize and exfoliate. The reason I actually put that on here because I think it's a very, very important part of the prep, because you want to make sure that the tan is going to absorb properly on your skin. And if you have a bunch of dead skin, you know, you might end up with patches and stuff like that. You know, overall, on the instructions actually from the tanning company, they said you want to start moisturizing and exfoliating at 2 weeks out. So I took them for their word, and I think my tan was actually really good at FitLog. So yeah, that's for skin prep. Cardio was 1.5 hours a day. I think that actually started at 3 weeks out. I would do it normally after work. Working out, we would be working out every single day, starting at 2 weeks out. I know some people might not think it's ideal, but my workouts at this point were very, very lackluster, I guess you could say. They're not very high in volume. I'm at the point where I'm just trying to get blood into the muscle. And for me, it ended up working really well to work out every single day leading up to it, except for once we get closer to the show, but I'll tell you guys that a little bit as we get there. In terms of diet, we were on a depletion diet. So I will actually show you guys my macros right now. And this diet was probably the hardest diet I had to follow ever in any bodybuilding prep. We had actually started it at 3 weeks out from this show. And every single time you're ever gonna see DEP or DEP, depletion, it's essentially me following the diet with those macros. And I spoke to my coach about making this video, and he said, it's all good to share this stuff with you guys because, you know, everybody's different, right? So what worked for me may not necessarily work for, you know, others, but I think that giving you guys the information and being transparent is, there's value in that. So yeah, so the diet was depletion, starting at 2 weeks out, or starting at 3 weeks out, I should say. And I was still doing weekly check-ins at that point. So I would send my coach videos from the same spot with the same lighting, same angles, just to have him assess my physique. I would also like go to the gym and my coach was able to physically see me there as well, where like he's at, where he's located. So it was really nice to get that accessibility too. Sometimes with online coaching, you know, your coach, like you send them checking videos, and you know, there's for sure value in that, especially if he knows what he's looking at and you're sending them consistently from the same spot with the same angles, the same lighting. It makes it easier for them. But I think there's definitely added value to being able to see your clients in person and see the changes that's happening to them every few days, especially when you're getting closer and closer to the show. So in between 2 weeks out and 7 weeks out, I got my last massage from Melanie. So I'm gonna leave her Instagram handle down below. And she was my massage therapist throughout the entire prep. I've been with her now for, I wanna say, around 2 years. And she's been great for me. The best way I describe it to people, for me personally, is like I always, like, one of my weaker points is my lats and my back overall. So sometimes, like, before going to see her, when I'm doing like a front relax where I'm spreading out my lats, like it feels like I'm trying to stretch them out as much as possible. But then after I go see her, if she's working on my lats, it almost feels like I can sit on my lats right after that. So, you know, if you're in the area, be sure to check her out. I would definitely recommend it. Starting at 7 days out now here, this is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the weekends were a lot easier for me actually, because I wasn't working. So leading up full time, I was actually working a desk job, which was like actually really good for me in the sense that it wasn't like very calorie intensive. It was more brain intensive, but I like that kind of stuff. So for me, albeit of course you want to get as much time off and be as stress free as much as possible leading up to the show, but for me I didn't really have a choice. So the weekends for me were kind of like a very, very like good moment, I guess you could say, where I could actually relax and, you know, really be able to focus on all the other stuff I had to take care of. So we were also doing moisturizing and exfoliation. So even on the weekends, we cut it out at 5 days because that was the instructions that the tanning company had given us. So I stopped moisturizing then. Cardio was still at 1.5 hours. Diet was depletion mode. My water, I screwed it up because the water container I was using, for the longest period of time, I actually thought it was 2.9 liters. I only ended up finding that out when I was closer to the show, because I wasn't peeing as much as I had in the previous preps, and I was kind of wondering why. We were following all the same protocol, and that's when I looked and I realized that I wasn't drinking as much water as I thought I was drinking. So it turns out the container was only 1.9 liters instead of 2.9 liters. So I guesstimated that I had roughly about 6 liters instead of the 8 liters I was supposed to have. We corrected that in the following shows, but for this one, I had screwed up. I drank 6 liters essentially the entire peak week, so that wasn't great on my end, but I fixed it up in the following shows. We have, starting at 7 weeks out, we have daily check-ins. So I'm sending check-in videos every single day to my coach. And he's telling me whether we're on track, or, you know, maybe fix this in your posing, little tiny minute details, right? You don't want to have anything that's really stress provoking, especially leading up to your show. So, you know, I think it's very important to have a coach that kind of chills you out, calms you down. Like, all the work's pretty much done at that point, right? You're not really gonna do any major changes by then. It's just about, I think, in my opinion, keeping the athlete as calm, as relaxed, as focused as he can be. And that's exactly how my coach made me feel, and for that, I really, really appreciated it. And then my final posing session I actually had with my posing coach, IFBB Prince. I've been going to him since I've pretty much been 18 years old. Desric's been, in my opinion, he's one of the best posing coaches out there. He really gets a sense for the athlete themselves. It's not very, with Desric, it's never cookie cutter. It's customized to the person. He really like takes into account who you are as an individual, what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and he helps you bring the best out of it. So that was my last session with him. I think I took maybe 10 or 12 sessions leading up to this point, so with him. And like I said, yeah, I've been with him since I'm 18. Awesome posing coach. Definitely would recommend him. So 6 days out, pretty much the same thing. The only difference was, and I forget what workout I did on this day, but on this day, I had my last quad and calf session. So relatively light. I wasn't even squatting much because I had a small issue with my trap that I believe was because I was leading up to this. I'd been squatting relatively heavy for a lot of reps every single week. And I think that there's something going on with my trap and the fact that it was, you know, when you have repeatedly heavy weight that's compressing on your spine. And I think to me, that was the main culprit of why I had issues with my trap. I think I have some type of nerve issue, but I'm definitely gonna get that checked out in the off season, make sure that all is good. Day 5, we had the final chest workout. So we're just exfoliating then, cardio is the same, and I'm actually going to work, right? So time-wise, things are very like structured, and we try to make sure that we get absolutely everything in. It's relieving to the mind when you get everything in. It's like, okay, you know, I got everything done. Everything I was supposed to get done, I got done. Made sure I got my check-in in. And the chest workout, like same thing as the quads and calves. It's not really a whole lot of volume. We're just trying to pump blood into the muscle. Day 4, we have hamstrings and glutes. I was supposed to do my leg workouts, I think, relatively earlier in the week, but just the way my workout schedule aligned, that's the only point I really thought to get it done. I didn't want to get it done here just because I don't like doing, you know, quads and calves and then hamstring glutes the next day. I kind of like having a day in between my leg. If I'm gonna split my leg days into like a hamstring and a quad day, I like having something in between. So we had it on day 4. Day 3, and we were also, by the way, up until this point, we're all following the depletion diet, the macros I showed you. But now starting at day 3, when we're 3 days out, I actually ended up taking my fasted weight here, and I was 217.8. I might as well use this. 217.8. Cardio dropped where we only ended up doing 30 minutes that day, and it was a light walk. So no bike. Leading up to it, by the way, just to give you guys background, that hour and a half, normally I would do it on a spinning bike that I have set up in my room, and I would pretty much just bang it out all in one shot. Sometimes I would do it in 2 shots, but I didn't really like breaking it up too much, because what happens is I ended up having lactic acid build up in my legs. And if you like start and then stop and take like a decent sized break after, let's just say you do an hour, and then you need that extra half hour you still got to do, but you take a decent break. For me, I had a whole lot of lactic acid built up in my legs, and it made it really hard. On top of being depleted, on top of not having energy, it made it really hard to get that last 30 minutes out. So I was always someone who liked to get it all done in one shot. But for Wednesday, for 3 days out, we actually had a 30-minute walk. So I just walked around the block a little bit, took it easy. And that's when we actually started carbing up. It was on the Wednesday. So for those of you who don't know, bodybuilders tend to carb up leading up to a show, to really look very full on stage. And then we actually cut water to really push the muscle against the skin, and we don't want to have a layer of water in between that muscle and the skin. You really want to look as ripped as possible on stage and as full as possible on stage. So a good mix of the two is really what you're after. For me, to give you guys more background, I was really lean leading up to the show, to the point where like if I needed to, if we had to do a show, let's just say 5 weeks before this, like I was like lean ready there and then. So what we were actually doing is we were practicing carb ups leading up to the show, starting at around 5 weeks out, 5 to 6 weeks out. We were kind of replicating what we would do, and we would, you know, get data back as to how my body would react, when it would look its best, with what amount of food. And so just to show you guys my macros for my high carb days, or at least that high carb day, that Wednesday, was this. And what we had figured out is we had tried a bunch of different stuff. Like we tried carbing me up starting on the Thursday, and I always ended up looking better on the Sunday, right? We would have a carb up Thursday, Friday, to try to look our best on Saturday. But I would look watery on Saturday, and I would look better on the Sunday. So what we decided to do is we pushed it back a day, tried that, and all things looked good leading up to it. So we figured might as well do the same exact thing in peak week. So the high carb day, the macros I just showed you guys didn't include the homemade cheat meal that we had, which was 2 homemade burgers and 825 grams of raw potatoes that we would air fry. And I felt really good after that. We had a back day also, and another daily check-in. Now, starting at 2 days out, no cardio anymore. We cut it out. I had a medium carb up day, which I'll show you guys the macros right now. We've tried also having a high carb day on the Wednesday and then an even higher carb day on the Thursday, but we found that I looked way too washed out. So having a medium carb up day was what's best. And there was no cheat on that day. So we got it done. Had shoulders and arms as the final workout and gave coach my check-in. Friday, which was 1 day out, I actually managed to get that day off of work. So that was really nice. You know, all these days leading up to it, I'm working 8 hours, but on that Friday I didn't have to. So I was able to get my stuff organized. The show was in Quebec City, so I had to pack my stuff. Coach came to get me and we ended up traveling to Quebec City. My diet on the Friday was actually the depletion diet. So we go back to the depletion diet for me. That's what worked for me. Maybe for other guys, other things work, but for this show, that's what we did. And we weighed in. I weighed in with my clothes, I want to say at 222 with clothes on. So with all the water in, which we had actually cut out at 3 p.m. So on our way there, we weren't fully there, but at 3 p.m. I had all my 6 liters, which was a mistake from me, but all that in. We essentially cut it out there and then, and I didn't drink. I had small, tiny little sips throughout the rest of Friday and then Saturday, just to make sure that all the supplements that I was like taking, especially on the Saturday morning, was able to like down them and not have like a pill stuck in my throat. And we actually exfoliated. We exfoliated in Montreal before leaving, and when we got to Quebec, the first thing we had done actually was the tan before checking in. So we got the tan done, and that was the first of 2 coats. So the way it works, for you guys that don't know, we do the first set, I guess you could say, of tanning, which for me was actually 3 coats. It wasn't just 1, but the first set is done the day before the show, and then the second set, or the second coat, whatever you want to call it, was done the morning of the show, really, really early. So just to recap quickly on that 1 day out, we ended up doing no cardio, no workouts, and we checked into the hotel. Everything was good, and we kind of took it easy, right? You want to be sure you're stress-free, you're relaxed, and you're focused. You know, I would pose maybe a few times on that day, but not too much, not to the point where, you know, I was sweating or anything like that. So relatively chill day. And then Friday, of course, the first thing I get up and go do is tan really, really early in the morning. Like when I say early, it's probably between, I can't remember specifically this time, but the options we get normally is between 3 and like 4:30. So it's very, very early, but you know, you do what you got to do at that point. And I already know show day, I'm going to be up, 18 to 20 to 24 hours plus, especially with adrenaline you get, at least I get from being on stage. Like I love being on stage. I love competing and I love presenting everything I have to the audience. So I get a bunch of adrenaline from that. But yeah, we get the tan done. I go back to the hotel room, have my coach see me. He approves, he tells me what to have. I forget what I had in the morning, honestly. I probably had rice cake or something of that nature, something very light. I don't like filling my stomach with, even though the metabolism's relatively high, I don't really like filling my stomach with a bunch of junk or stuff like that to, quote, fill me out. I'd rather have my stomach relatively empty, and the work is pretty much done at that point, and maybe I'll have a few more rice cakes, which we ended up having, backstage at prejudging. We had some rice cakes with jam, and we had some rice cakes with peanut butter and a bit of salt on it, which worked great. And I'll show you guys a quick video of how I looked at prejudging.
Front double bicep, double bicep, the fast.
Your quads, Jordan!
Hold up on the inside chest.
I think everything went really well in prejudging, and I got some good feedback. And we kind of knew that we were fighting for the overall right after it. So they moved me right away to the center in terms for my class. And from the feedback I had gotten from people I knew in the audience and my coach, we knew we were fighting for the overall. So in between prejudging and finals, we went out. I think we went to like a little mall area, and I brought my chicken and rice. And I had a chicken and rice meal, which is probably just something along the lines of, 100 grams of chicken and like 200 or maybe 300 grams of rice, something relatively really light. Like I can't emphasize enough for me personally, and this is just me, I don't like filling my stomach up with heavier stuff, even though my metabolism most likely could take it. How I'm gonna pose on stage, I feel like might be reflected of the stuff that I ate. I may have more trouble sucking in my stomach and stuff like that. So I keep it relatively light. No water all day. And to believe me, that gets to you as you get close to the show. You feel a little bit more dehydrated and tired and stuff like that, but you just got to keep going. At the end of the day, you're fighting for the overall. So everybody's tired. Everybody's, exhausted. And in the end, I think it's really who wants it most. If it's close, it's who wants it most that comes out on top. And we were posing every few hours. Coach was looking at me, looking how my body looked. And finals, I had, I think, a caffeine pill, more rice cakes with jam and peanut butter. And so I got awarded first in my class. And then right away, I stayed on stage because we're battling right away for the overall. So no breaks. Fight for the overall. I kind of wish I went to center stage for that because I ended up staying on the line when they said pose down, but it was still enough for me to win the overall, which was really nice. My first trophy, my first overall. So really, really happy about that one. And then, that was pretty much it. Post show, just to give you guys, a bit of information on what I had. I knew the job wasn't finished. At the end of the day, I still had my Montreal show, which is going to be in part 2, so stay tuned. But we ate an unweighed amount of chicken from Chef Kai, who was at FitLog Expo, and it was probably some of the best chicken I've ever had. Really, really, really good. He gave it to me in a little container, and I ate it on the way back to Quebec, on the way back to Montreal, so really, really good. Definitely would recommend checking him out. I drank 1 full Gatorade. We drove home that same day, so right after getting the overall win, we kind of didn't stay around, and because it was a big trip, and I didn't want to book an extra hotel night in Quebec because that's extra money. So we left right away after getting that. And when I got home, I was kind of craving something all week, and I told my coach like I really wanted to have this, and he approved for me to have 2 homemade little breakfast bagels. So that kind of consisted of like half bagel, egg, a Kraft Singles, a sausage patty, like those breakfast sausage patties, and then another half bagel. So while I was editing, I actually realized that the ending cut out. So I'm just gonna redo it, reshoot it, and wrap up part 1. But I think I finished off by talking about the bagels that I had. I had 2 of those, and I had those on the Saturday. And on Sunday, the day after the show, we went right back to depletion mode, right back to that depletion diet, essentially preparing for Mimi Capes, which was the very next week. And that pretty much concludes part 1. If you guys have any critiques or anything that you think I can improve on, feel free to leave comments down below. If you like the video, like it, share it, subscribe, because I'm going to be making a whole lot more of them. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys got some value out of it. And I'll see you guys for part 2. Take care.